The Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene is one of the most talked about books on why people do what they do. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why you keep getting blindsided by the people around you. Greene studied history's sharpest minds to answer one question. Why do smart people keep making the same irrational mistakes and sabotaging their own success? This video breaks down 5 of his laws, the ones that hand you the tools to actually do something about it. You already know what to do, so why haven't you done it? You've told yourself you'd stay calm this time, you'd read people better, you wouldn't let your mood run the show, and then it happened again. Here's what almost nobody tells you. This isn't a willpower problem. It's that you've never been taught how emotion, ego, and attitude quietly run your life from behind the curtain. And that's exactly what this book gets right. In this video, we'll break down 5 key insights from the laws of human nature. Why your best decisions were never fully your own. Why the self you built as a toddler is still steering you today. Why people leak their true feelings even while lying to your face. Why your attitude is the real author of your luck, and why the friendliest person in the room might be the most aggressive one. Let's get started. Act 1. Why your best decisions were never really yours. In 432 BC, Athens stood on the edge of war with Sparta. 10,000 citizens crammed onto a hillside, shouting, terrified, furious. Then an old statesman named Pericles stepped forward. He didn't rile the crowd up. He laid out cold, patient logic, and the mob went quiet. Pause for a second and actually think about that. In a room full of pure emotion, one man's calm was the most powerful thing in it. Here's the hidden tension. You like to think you're steering your own life with logic. You're not. Greene argues emotion colors almost every decision before you're even aware you're making it. It decides what evidence you notice and what conclusion feels obviously true. Rationality isn't your default setting. It's a skill, and most people never train it. As Greene puts it, rationality is the ability to counteract these emotional effects, to think instead of react. He calls the alternative the maker's mindset, the state you slip into deep in a project with a deadline, where the only emotion you can afford is focus. Pericles used this exact skill for decades, staying in power through what Greene calls the inner Athena, a level, unshakable head others could lean on when they'd lost theirs. Here's the part that changes everything. Greene's first strategy for building this yourself is brutally simple. Know yourself thoroughly. Catch your emotional self in the act, and the moment you can name it, it starts losing its grip on you. It's no longer, why do I keep reacting this way? It becomes, what is this reaction trying to protect me from? Act 2. The self you built to survive being ignored. Picture a toddler around age 3, testing the world, pulling away from a parent for the first time, terrified and thrilled at once. Somewhere in that stretch of early childhood, Greene argues, every one of us builds something we'll spend our whole life defending, a self-image. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. We all crave attention, but there's never enough to go around. So as children, we build an internal self. We can retreat to when the world isn't giving us enough. Greene describes it almost like a thermostat, quietly regulating our doubts and insecurities. So we're not entirely dependent on other people's approval. For most of us, that self-image is sturdy enough to function. But when a parent is absent or, just as damaging, suffocatingly over-involved, that self never fully forms, and Greene calls the result deep narcissism, an emptiness constantly refilled by other people's attention, because there's no internal self to fall back on. The fix Greene proposes is a specific skill called the empathic attitude. As Greene writes, you must start from the assumption that you are ignorant of other people and let go of the instinct to instantly judge them. Watch for what he calls the attribution bias, the reflex where you excuse your own mistakes as bad circumstances, but read other people's mistakes as proof of bad character. It's no longer, why is everyone so full of themselves? It becomes, how full is my own cup, and where did that come from? Act 3. The 16 ways people say no while saying yes. In 1919, 17-year-old Milton Erickson woke up paralyzed by polio. Within days, even his lips stopped working. All he could move were his eyes. Lying frozen in a farmhouse in Wisconsin, he started watching his sisters talk to each other and noticed something nobody else in the room seemed to see. You may not agree with this yet, but keep watching. One sister said, "Yes, that's a good idea," in a flat monotone with a tiny smirk, and Erickson realized it actually meant no. In a single day, lying still, he counted 16 different versions of no hiding inside a spoken yes. Greene calls this the second language, The tone, the timing, the micro-expression that leaks out the truth. A person's words are working hard to hide. People wear a mask because appearances are what we're judged by. But the mask always has cracks in it, and those cracks are where the real information lives. This is the moment it actually clicks. Erickson turned total paralysis into total observation, and it made him one of the most influential psychologists of the 20th century. The lesson scales down to tonight's conversation. Stop planning your reply. Watch the 2-second delay before someone answers, the flicker before the polite smile lands. That gap is where the real answer lives. It's no longer, what did they say? It becomes, what did their face say while they were saying it? Act 4. Why bad luck keeps finding the same people. Anton Chekhov grew up dreading the sound of his father's footsteps. He never knew which mornings would end in a beating, delivered, his father insisted, out of love. Most children raised like that carry the damage forward for life. Chekhov didn't. He became one of the most humane, clear-eyed writers in history. Here's what almost nobody tells you about hardship. Greene argues it's not the event itself that shapes you, it's the attitude you build around it. A negative, constricted attitude narrows what you're willing to try. You avoid risk, blame circumstance, and prove yourself right every time something goes wrong. An expansive attitude treats obstacles as raw material instead. Picture two people getting the identical piece of bad news. One spirals for a week. The other starts making calls the next morning. Same event, completely different trajectory, because the attitude, not the circumstance, wrote the outcome. Greene points to actress Joan Crawford, stuck in shallow roles in 1928 Hollywood, who confronted one of the most powerful men in the industry instead of accepting the ceiling everyone assumed was permanent. Greene's advice? See yourself as an explorer, not someone defending fixed beliefs. Because, as he writes, most people replace curiosity with conviction by the time they're 30, and that's the real trap. It's no longer, why does this always happen to me? It becomes, what is this obstacle handing me that I haven't picked up yet? Act 5. The friendly mask hiding everyone's aggression. In 1857, an ambitious Englishman named Maurice Clark needed a business partner with capital. He picked an 18-year-old bookkeeper nobody would have guessed at. Mild-mannered, religious, painfully precise with money. That bookkeeper was John D. Rockefeller, and Greene uses him to show something unsettling. The calmest person in the room can also be the most relentlessly aggressive. Here's the part that changes everything. Greene argues almost everyone carries some blocked ambition and expresses it indirectly. What he calls passive aggression. It shows up as the friend who's always 15 minutes late with a flawless excuse. The colleague whose compliment has a small dig folded inside it. The person who goes quiet just long enough to make you feel guilty for something you didn't do. Greene calls this the subtle superiority strategy. And the reason it works is that if you call it out directly, the aggressor flips the script and makes you look paranoid. The tell isn't one incident, it's the pattern, repeated so often it can't be an accident anymore. Rockefeller himself, Greene notes, could be plenty passive-aggressive when it suited him, mild on the surface, immovable underneath. The people who read him accurately watched what he actually did over time, not what he said in the moment. It's no longer, why does this person make me so uneasy? It becomes, what pattern have I been ignoring because they're so pleasant about it? Here's what almost nobody tells you. Every one of these laws is really the same law wearing a different mask. You are not as rational, as self-aware, or as safe from manipulation as you assume, and neither is anyone else. The people who move through life the most skillfully aren't the smartest people in the room. They're the ones who stopped taking human behavior at face value and started reading what's actually underneath it. And this is just one piece of what actually separates the people who understand others from the people who keep getting blindsided by them. If you want the next breakdown, maybe influence, maybe the 48 laws of power, tell me which one below, and I'll break it down next.